Today we're going to talk about 545 by 39 reloading. It's a subject that's not really out there that much. It's a very obscure round to reload because it's not worth it, some say. Which is probably true, but it's kind of a mad scientist project for some of the extreme reloaders out there. So I'll kind of show what it takes to do that. So you need your dies, which these are Lee. These are part of a group buy. And this came with the full-size die, the actual expanding rod, and the bullet seating die, and of course your case holder. Now, since we're going to be reloading on a parent or a subsidiary cartridge, mainly the 222 Remington, we're going to resize it and then fireform it in the actual firearm itself, so that it fills in the actual chamber and such. And we'll need a shell plate holder that will actually take this particular one. Now, the reason why is because you got your normal round. It's not going to fit in there because it's going to take in a different cartridge and taking it to a different level. Now, a lot of old timers used to do this for other cartridges like 7.7 Jap, and what they do, they would reform 30-06 and then cut it and then fire in their rifle and expand and form in the chamber, and then they have brass that they could use in that particular caliber. That's kind of the thought process in here. Some people have tried 223 and have been somewhat successful. My experimentations have shown that it's not really easy to do. It's because there's all kinds of mistakes that can happen, and it's just a pain in the ass in general. I believe this is a 222, not 223, but you can get imperfections that happen, especially if the 223 in comparison. Here's a 222, here's a 223. There's more metal to push down on the 223 than the 222, and that can cause all kinds of problems. So generally it's advised to use 222 Remington. Now, of course, you need 222 Remington brass, and those aren't necessarily cheap. You might be able to get lucky at a gun show or so. Or you have to buy them online. You can try, what's another place? Bass Pro has got them. I got a bag laying around of that stuff. And in order to actually reform the stuff, you're going to need this particular product. This is Imperial Resizing Wax. And I've tried other mixtures and such, and this is by far the best I've found. And the other one you're going to need is die that is used to reform the bullets themselves. So you need to use 224 bullets, and you run through this, and it makes them 221. And I'll show that later in the video. But today we're going to do just 5 cases at a time. And the other thing you will probably need is a magazine and the actual rifle itself. You're basically going to use this as a go-no-go guide for the chamber to see if the brass that you process is bad or good. That's all it really is for. I got the rifle sizing die, and I got the this is an RCBS number 10 to shell holder. And we're going to do 5 of these. I got another one, a 6th one, just as a backup in case this doesn't work. So what we're going to do, for what I do, is I remove the actual rod itself. And that has to do with neck tension for when seating the bullet. Out of the die with the rod itself, the plug or the expander is too big and the bullets fall right through into the case. And I found with this particular die that if I just have it and remove it, I'll have no problem with that issue. Now I just want to take a little bit of sizing wax, put it around the neck, put it around the little ledge here, and just run it up in there really slow until you feel some resistance. I'm just going to go kind of slow and put it like a little bit of pressure, let go, a little bit of pressure, pull back, pressure, pull back, pressure, pull back, pressure. And this one came out okay. And there's a little fold on the edge, it looks like. Maybe some stripes. Those should form out when these are fired. So we'll do another one. Now those can show up because there's too much wax put on, or air gets stuck in the actual die and the lube. So we'll do it again. Put it up, feel resistance, push down, pull back, push up, pull back, push up, pull back, push. And that one came out pretty much cleaner. And do a few other ones. Push, pull back. You want to go slow when you're doing this. You just don't want to just ram it up there like you normally would when you're resizing. Now, there could be an accumulation of wax up in this die, and that's causing some of these errors to pull up. So I'm just going to run this up here without any wax, because there should be some wax in the die, and if it's ruined, it happens. So maybe every so often you just put one up there to kind of clean it out, per se. And that one came out immaculate, pretty much. Better than the other one. So maybe rotate every one back and forth between using the wax. So now we've got 5 cases here, and you'll see the neck is too long, so we gotta cut off the top. And what we're going to do is where you can use a pipe cutter that you use to cut copper. This is just an example. This is too big. It's one of these things. The neck will fit in here. You use a hacksaw and do it. But I found a better solution, which I'll show you here in a second. Okay, what we got here is a it's for Harbor Freight. It's a 2-inch benchtop cutoff saw. It's used to cut up siding and stuff. And what we're going to do is we're going to throw it in the chuck, and we're going to cut the actual brass. We're going to be cutting the top off the top here, and I'll give you before and after comparisons. Now the other thing you might want is some kind of trimming device. This, I don't remember what it is. I think it's by Lyman, and this is a custom rod of 2.221 width with the length of the actual case, so I can trim the top a little bit. And then, of course, we'll probably need your deburr and tool here too. So the other thing you can't see on here is I've got a jig to kind of space the brass in, and when I put it in the chuck. Some people make wood. You might want to look into 300 blackout and how people do that. I just glued a piece of Lego at the edge right here, and I just got it just right to where when I cut it, it'll be just almost precise. I mean, it's a little slightly short, but when it's fire formed, it should be fine. Now, just plug it in. Okay, we're plugged in, it's secure. Probably want safety glasses also because of the brass that might fly from here. So. And as you can see, I've cut the top off. Now it's a little jagged, so you take your trimming tool, put it through there, a couple of twists. That should take it and flatten it out. Then you take a burr. Voila, you're ready to go. And the other thing you might want to do is blow out any brass that's in there with a air hose or some kind. I'll do one more and then I'll break and go to the next part. So here we go, another one that needs to be trimmed, or I should say cut instead of trimmed. Put in the chuck. There you go. Now we want to check the actual cases to see if they're somewhat deformed. This is kind of the annoying part because it gets stuck. So you need your AK, of course, assembled so you get access to your chamber. And you just kind of just drop them in there and see how well they go in. You could probably take a live round, drop in there, see how far out it should be, and you'll get a better idea if it works. Now I did have one that didn't look right, and I'll do that one here last. And they're just going in really easy. Sometimes if they get stuck, that's when you kind of know that they're not right. I mean, you take a clean rod, and that one should be fine. And some tricks to this. Yeah, that should work. Now I'm going to take a look at two other ones. One that's got a little of a, if you remember, I showed you this one. This one will probably form out when it's fired. I'll just put it in there, and that goes in just fine. Now for the one that I was kind of wondering about. And that one is just fine. And we'll repeat this process for after the bullet seam. Now that's out of the way. Of course, we're going to prime the brass, which I'll be doing next off camera. And then I'll get set up for seeing the bullet and powder. I primered them and put powder in them. I'm using IMR 4198, and the kind of powder and your recipes, I'm not going to get any information on this because it's such an experimental round. There is a thread on a website called gunco.net. It's a forum. If you go into the reloading section, they actually have 25 plus forum topic on this particular subject where I got most of my information. And you should be able to pick up what formula you may want to use. I want to try to develop a Winchester 748 because it's a better metering powder than 4198 because it's an extruded rod, I think. So when you're pulling down on it, it makes a crunch noise, and your grain results are plus or minus 0.3 or so. So I'm using a small amount to just do this particular round. So the next thing we need to do is we need to swage bullets. And what this is a die that you push your bullets up through, and it switches them to 2-2-1, usually from 2-2-4. So, got a plunger that goes on your main ram. This is the plunger that goes up into your die, and I'm using Hornady. No, these are extreme bullets, 55 grains. Granted, they won't fit the AK perfectly, but they're a good starting base and they're cheap. Now, they say I should be using this Lee Liquid Alux bolt lubricant, but I found that just putting them through this, just like this, without any lubricant works just fine. Now, for longer bullets that might need to be done, but these are fine. As you can see, I'm just pushing them through and I'm just squeezing the lead down. You get some resistance at first, but after that you should be fine. Now, I'm not doing this on a large scale, so I'm not worried about it. Now, if I was going to do a bunch of these, the Alux may be a good idea. Just like that, I got 6 done. Crap. I'll just go out to fish them out. But I don't know if you can see it, but there's actual, it's actually thinner in that one area, it's more boxy. So I'm going to go pick up that one and wash, and we'll go to the next step. Got the die set up for seating the bullet. And one last thing I forgot to mention is that I put this container on top of the bullet swager. And what it does is it catches the bullets as they come out the top for more mass production kind of stuff. But for now, it's a good holder, and I went ahead and figured out how far down I want to put the bullet. I've been told that you want to keep it out as far as possible because when it's sitting in the mag, you don't have much play where a normal 545 would be, because these are 55 grains. There's not much length to them. Now there are some blemished 60 grain actual 545 bullets you can get that are from Hornady, and they pop up on Midway USA every once in a while. Now I have an actual 545 compared to this, and there's no way I'm going to be able to make it fit correctly. That one's a Silver Bear. Now I got a 7 and 6 right here, and you can see how close it is. Now the hardest problem is just figuring out the overall length that'll work for your rifle, because you're dealing with the chamber, lands, and all that stuff. And I'm kind of using the cannula that's on here as a guide. Now I was putting them down to the cannula to the neck edge there, and they would rattle around in the magazine, and I still have to form fire those, so that'll be my next video that I put out, is actually doing those. But these are more of an experiment that I'm going to do this way. And I do the plunk test, and it goes in, but it just doesn't seem quite right. I'm not sure. So I'm going to play with it some more, see if the other ones look okay. So this one is done, and so we'll go to the next ones. So these got other primers in them, small rifle primer, 55 grain bullet. Seems to be coming out too much, so I'll make a small adjustment. Put back in the rifle chamber, and it seems to be working. Try another one. That one's kind of. Try this one here. It's one of those things that's definitely not in any textbooks, and it's kind of a learned subject matter. Also, by putting in the chamber, I can see if the round is almost perfect in that go, no-go situation. They're generally coming out the same way. I'll have to get a test round. Actually, we got a round. Actually got a round that is for testing purposes. That is inert. I'll use as a comparison. And this one was from a 223 case, and it goes in there just fine. But as you can see, the difference between the length is a little bit longer, and I'm questioning if this is too long and it's too fat. Cases. Yeah, I'll make a smaller adjustment, a little bit more down. Back off. Let's see if it changes. Nope, still the same. So I think I'm on to whatever it should be. And that's pretty much it. Trial and error. Trying to figure out what works. Here, I'm going to finish this up and I'll get to the next part here. Okay, another thing you can do is you can make a dummy round and put the bullet in there and see if it feeds and goes into the chamber just fine. Now, I did have a couple of them that worked out just fine with the length I've got, so I think we're good. Now, the only other thing that can happen is that the rounds, when you put them into a standard 5.45 magazine, is that they'll rattle around because they're not, the base of the shell hasn't blown out to form the chamber yet. And so they're kind of loose. And I've yet to feed 30 through there. And right now I got it lined up, but there's a little bit of a gap from the front of the lips right here to the back of the bullet. Whereas a normal 5.5, just for comparison, you can see the difference right there as far as the length of the actual round compared to the reloaded rounds. Now when they form, they'll bulge at the base, which is perfectly fine. And that's almost fire forming, and as I explained earlier, is to make rounds that would, or brass that would fit that particular rifle. Now, because it's semi-auto, you're going to have to catch your brass somehow, like a brass catcher, a box, a net, something. And the AK throws them real good. So my suggestion is kind of play around with some expendable ammo, like the Wolf, Silver Bear, etc. Figure out where they're going, and then put your net set up there, and it'll catch them. Probably in that video I'll show you what they are, or how it is. But that's how you make a .222 Remington to 5.45.